My fellow crypto investors, whether you're old, young, or you're someone who identifies as a cat or a dog, it really doesn't matter at this point. Whoever you are, wherever you're watching this from, now is the perfect time to take advantage of where we are in the market. Now, I've got 5 things today, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5. Like, I'm talking extremely important things I want you to remember. Now, I'm making this video for everyone. There's going to be tips in here for people who are fresh, right off the printing press, brand new crypto beginner, right to someone who's more experienced. And these are things that, 1, we should touch up on from time to time, and 2, we should look to do straight away to optimize not just your safety in the market, but your overall success and gains. That's my ultimate thing in crypto, guys, is how do I make the most amount of money in the safest way? Now, here's going to be 5 of those tips. But first of all, I want to say, for all of you people out there saying, Kyron, what bull run? What bull run? The bull run's over. Well, first of all, I want to say, in any circumstance, you want to prepare for both. If you're not prepared for a bull run and you're prepared for a bear market, okay, well, what happens if we go bull market and not bear market? You're going to be screwed. So pay attention. All right. Now, this is one of Plan B's many different charts. This is the 200-week moving average chart. So it's fairly viable. This isn't his stock to flow model. And we can see here that we are 4x right now up from the lows back in about 2022, 2023. Now, we've printed 4 red dots, which after we print 4 red dots, these red dots, by the way, represent the months after the Bitcoin halving. So we go from red, from max, months to the halving, to blue, which is right on the halving. We're 4x up. So things are moving on track. We're not ahead of ourselves. We're not underperforming. We're literally right on track. And I don't know if you can see from this chart here, but typically after these initial 4 red dots, things start going up. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, look, the next dot that comes on the screen should be a good dot. Like, that's not very good analysis. But again, this is one of the many things that I'm looking at right now to prove we are on track. I've made many videos recently talking about like 5 or 6 different indicators that prove this. So I'm not going to repeat those in this video, but more, I guess, fundamental analysis proves that we are still on track, guys. Right, Goldman Sachs, these guys are buying a crap load of Bitcoin via the ETFs for their institutional clients. We also have MicroStrategy still, Michael Saylor himself, buying Bitcoin. I mean, this guy will buy Bitcoin even if Bitcoin fell back down to $1. But still, it is good to know that there is, of course, that large-scale interest as well. Of course, we have the Ethereum ETFs. I mean, what's next, right? We're going to have Solana, XRP, Polkadot. I mean, these are going to start coming out here, I believe. And most importantly and bullishly of all, the Global Liquidity Index is on track again, right? We're back on track with the long-term cycle. Now, typically, this thing here is a little bit off schedule, if you will. It's a little bit behind schedule. Needless to say, though, it is a good thing that this is increasing from, importantly, the lows. We're at lows. Of course, the more money that is printed and thrown into the economies, right, stimulates growth, means people have more money to throw into speculative assets like crypto. So, needless to say, I think we have a lot of growth to still come here. And this, of course, is going to line up perfectly with when that should high and tip out around 2025-ish. So, fingers crossed, I think the longer the market extends, right, the longer we kind of keep moving sideways here, the more money gets involved with it. That means that the more stake the big boys have, which means they're more incentivized to push the market when we begin going up with all these bullish articles and all the rest of it. So, guys, the longer the better here, and I still think it's on. So, let's get into these 5 tips now. But first of all, do not forget, if you find yourself enjoying this video, that is the purpose, to entertain and educate. Hit that like button down there. That really does help support me as well. And subscribe, guys, because I mean, why the hell not? Now, I also want to say, we are doing a trading competition right now on CoinW. So we have about 17 days left of this competition in which you simply just trade, right? You trade one of these 5 assets and you will literally win a share of 10,000 USDT and a PYTH airdrop. So it's like, why not? Especially right now. This is going to move into my first point, guys, which is you absolutely need to save as much money as possible. Now, I know, all right, this is a pretty generic one, okay? Of course, save money, right? Everyone needs and wants to save money ultimately, but I'm trying to tell you this friend to friend here. Scrounge around the couch. Do what you need to do. This is non-financial advice, by the way, to try and accumulate as much money that you are able to afford to lose. That's a big emphasis, and put it in the market. Personally speaking, what am I doing? Well, I've gone from buying coffees every morning, every other morning, to now not buying any coffees at all in the morning. Most importantly, you need to make sure that you are putting away as much money you're willing to lose in the market, because when things turn, you're going to want to make that a little bit extra. Now, this will actually fall back into one of my last tips as well, which is by doing this, you're able to reduce your sell levels on your assets. Now, that's a very important thing. Most people think the more money I put in the market, the more money I'm going to make. Really, what you should do to reduce risk, we'll get to this soon, as I said, is look to reduce your sell levels on the top side, to have a clear goal in mind. $1 million, 100 grand, 10 grand. And if you end up putting more money in the market and therefore you increase the revenue you're making, you really should just reduce your sell levels to achieve that goal. This way, you're making the most money, you're achieving your goals in a safe possible way. And that's my sort of MO when it comes to crypto and investing. So generally speaking, I would say, look, if you can afford to just really go heavy focus on saving for the next 1 or 2 months, like really 1 or 2 months, that's it. You're going to really benefit, I think. Again, I want to make sure that you guys don't just like sell the car, mortgage the house, and like put the equity into the crypto. Like definitely make sure you're not like stressing yourself out. But I'm talking expendable income, maybe like cancel that Netflix subscription or whatever you have to do for like a couple months. And I think you'll be very, very thankful. Now, here's where it all kind of comes into play, right? When you're sort of looking at crypto, the least you can do in this industry, guys, is set and create not just your portfolio, but your sell levels. This is why I created this exit portfolio tracker available in my private community. There's a whole bunch more to this sheet if you're new around here. But needless to say, the bare minimum you can do, all right, is set something like this up. Because like you're putting your hard-earned money into this industry. Like seriously, the last thing you need to do is just at least track the very basic stuff. And most importantly, people don't track the sell price and their average buy price. I've got many tools to allow you to do this. As a matter of fact, just go to CoinStats for free, create a new account if you really need to, and just plug in a whole bunch of your buy levels and it'll average it out for you. But again, the sell levels where people tend to forget, because here's the beautiful part about doing this, right? And this is really truly tip number 2 here, is that if you're looking at a portfolio like this, for example, this is a mock portfolio. We have like Near Protocol over here. Okay, we're selling at $20. Cool. Well, we have Render over here. We're selling at $150. Now, a lot of you don't realize this, but when I look at, one-on-one consultants and stuff, the immediate thing that flags to me is why are we looking to sell Render Protocol at such a high level that probably could hit, but it's in the danger zone for sure, at least what we know right now. Given the pessimistic view of the market where we are right now, this little bit more reserved price prediction view rather than being in the next 12 months where it's all hysteria, we're all greedy, we all think these coins can do it at a 50x. All right, now that we're a little bit more conservative, I'm looking at Render going to myself, why are we risking that much money with this coin when we can kind of like offload that risk with Near, where we're so low? And I see it all the time, guys. You really need to assess your portfolios here right now. This is the truly unique circumstance where you're looking at things pessimistically. So we might make Near Protocol, Render Network, for example, $80 and then remove or add that sort of risk to a much safer project, which is Near. And when I say safer, I mean safer sell level. Make this $50, for example, or hell, that's a bit even too high. Let's make that $40. And you can see here, if the goal for our target is $142,000, well, if I Control Z this and Control Z back to $20, you can see how far down we've come by moving down Render Network to 80 from 150. But again, that 20 might be 45. Okay, because your average buy price here is far lower on Near than it is Render, it's much safer for you to look for a 17x on Near than it is a 17x on Render. And yeah, we're not quite at our goal again. Again, we're about $20,000-ish off that, but that's just one thing you can do. You might then look to other coins, for example, and look to move down other coins and then add up other coins. I mean, it all does depend on the amount of money you've invested in each. Of course, if you put more money in Render, even if this average buy price on Near Protocol is lower than your average buy price comparable to Render, because you put less money into Near Protocol, it actually might make more sense for you to still do this exercise and make up for it somewhere else. I can't stress how important this really is. And this is what I call portfolio rebalancing. It's not even rebalancing, really. It's just called the gamification of your portfolio. Treat this like there's always going to be something wrong with your portfolio. Figure it out. I can guarantee you almost 100% chance all of you watching this have something wrong with your portfolio. You don't realize it yet. So please go in there, see where you can take a coin like, in this case, Render, remove that risk in the danger zone, and offload that to a coin that's well in the green zone, well in the safe zone, and sort of balance them out so they're both kind of like within the green zone. And again, in this case, we're not hitting our target still, but I would go around and have a look at other coins as well and see if you can just kind of balance it all out to we're all sort of sitting in the green zone, the safe zone, the liquidity zone. Now, tip 3 is staking. Now, I want to put this right in the middle because I guess some people may or may not want to do this, and that's fine, but I wanted to open you up to more options, okay? So we know staking traditionally, right? You can go to Binance, you can even go to Ledger and a few different other places and stake your assets on these places. I've covered staking quite extensively on the channel, and I'll show you why here in a second because you can gain some pretty insane rewards. But there are many different other ways to stake, all right? So there's off-chain sort of staking where you stake via like Binance or Ledger. There's also on-chain staking directly with the network itself, or in this case with EigenLayer, all right? So you can restake your staked tokens like via Lido, for example, here on ETH, on Ethereum, okay, for a very measly 2.8%, but then you can restake that via the Lido pool down here, or another pool, whatever you want to use really, into EigenLayer, and then use those funds in many different ways, all right? It's basically fractional reserve banking in a way, right? So there's definitely arguments to be made for and against using that in crypto, but nevertheless, it's opening up a lot more use cases for the crypto industry in general. So you have different ways to stake there. Also for like Solana, I mean, there's many different, sort of projects on different networks that you can sort of swap in and out for these ones I'm mentioning today. But ones that pretty much offer, ideally, liquid staking like Jito, right? So 7.9% APY for Solana. You can stake Solana directly on the network for a little bit less than that. That's why people opt for Jito, Marinade, Lido, these different sort of liquid staking protocols, ideally, because they allow you to get more APY on your tokens and also have the ability to take them out whenever you so wish. Now, the benefits of staking should not be understated, right? So I've got a tool here on the Bullrun cheat sheet, again, available in the private community, all right, which kind of allows you to take your situation and see how much you would actually get out of it, right? So in this case, using Manta Network for an example, 70 cent buy price, you buy 10,000 tokens today, $7,000, all right? Stake that on Manta Network for 20% roughly APY on the lower side of things. You stake over a 10-month period, okay, you get 1,600 tokens. If you sell at $10, pretty much means your revenue is $100,000, but because you staked and you get those 1,600 tokens passively, passive income definition, okay, you actually end up making an extra $16,000. $16,000 of 10 months of staking. You stake for 12 months, you'll make $20,000, okay? So that's incredible. It's on the lower side as well, all right? Now, admittedly, all networks aren't giving you 20% APY, right? If, for example, if this was, let's just say it was Jito, for example, giving you basically 8%, I mean, you're still getting a free $8,000 over 12 months. And I do emphasize free, essentially. Now, you can opt to, of course, like I said before, make more money. So, if you're someone looking at your portfolio, well, I might make an extra $8,000, cool. Or you can take that as, rather than selling at $10, you can be much safer and actually factor in still making the $100,000 revenue like you sort of were focusing on before, selling at $10, and actually sell at $9.20. So this calculator tool allows you to sort of work out, do I want to make more money, or do I want to just take the extra money I would have and just simply sell lower? Because you're requiring more tokens for free, so why not reduce your end sell price to get out safer? You still hit your goals and your targets, but you're just simply doing it in a safer way. So that is definitely step number 3, guys. If you do want to stake, do so in a way where you're not locking your tokens up, ideally. And if you do, you want to look for projects that aren't going to lock you up for more than a month. A month is crazy long because crypto might pump in that time and you miss your chance to get out. So food for thought, but definitely let me know down below if you do decide to stake your tokens. And number 4 is actually knowing how crypto works. This is a very fundamental thing most beginners do not understand, but you have to at least understand to some degree, and I'll keep it very high level for you today. Path to alt season is a chart you'll see many people talk about, okay, where money goes into Bitcoin, then Ethereum, and then large caps pump, and then alt season happens and all the micro caps and stuff pump. This was the old model. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think to some degree it still, is a real thing. I believe more so in narratives. So I believe, AI will all pop off, this will pop off, and that will pop off. But I don't think this will necessarily happen to the same degree. But I do think Bitcoin, Ethereum, into more so the crypto market in general will sort of happen, all right? So more so 3 phases than 4. And I think a lot of people are sort of misguided to believe that Bitcoin and Ethereum, now that there is ETFs out, is a walled garden, meaning that pretty much value can't escape those sort of ETFs or those sort of products. But I do disagree, because what we're looking at in crypto isn't so much the money flowing into these assets like, Bitcoin pumping and Ethereum pumping, and then money can't trickle out. I mean, yes, it won't trickle out if people buy these ETFs, but ultimately it's exposure, it's interest, it's creating sort of like an interesting atmosphere for people to go, oh, okay, so Bitcoin's pumped up to $100,000 now. Okay, so I wonder what this crypto thing is. And they begin the research, and then they buy altcoins, all right? They might buy ETFs, but for me, I'd much rather the ETFs to occur and much more exposure than no ETFs and less exposure to the whole market, personally speaking. Now, I also saw a very interesting video from Crypto Banter. Someone from the private community actually called this out today, and I actually watched a section where he was saying layer 1 altcoins and DEXs are probably the most beneficial class of assets to buy, basically, right? The safest, because layer 1s pretty much uphold the whole industry. If you don't have a layer 1 protocols, you have nothing. And funnily enough, I agree. I made this video 6 days ago, literally talking about these altcoins will dominate. and it was layer ones. It was a whole video talking about layer one projects. Okay, so I agree with him, and I actually made this infographic as well, more detailed for this video, which I showed in that video. Okay, so this video shows the different layers of crypto, right? You have a layer 0, like these coins. They don't always provide support for layer ones, but they can, all right? Normally you can have layer ones just by themselves. But layer ones typically are like the main focal point for infrastructure for like where applications are built. You can't build applications on layer 0s. These guys just pretty much provide the software. And layer ones themselves provide this sort of smart contract language where these applications can be built, which is where you get like PYTH, Goldfinch, Ondo, all the rest of it. All right, so these bad boys. And this is where obviously demand comes in. Layer 2s, of course, you can have these guys built on top of Ethereum or any other layer 1 that supports layer 2s. So for example, Near Protocol has a layer 2 called Aurora. And then of course we're going to have layer 3s on top of even layer 2s, which is like ZK-Link and Octopus, right? These might even be classified as just smart contracts, but you can have layer 3 networks. And ultimately, there's demand at each level, and the demand always comes back into the layer 1. And if there's layer 0 as well. So always, because transaction fees are always, usually at least, always end up on the layer 1. Layer 2s can have their own gas model, of course, but usually they have to settle their transactions finally on the layer 1. Okay, so always there'll be traction for layer 1. Now, I don't agree necessarily that layer 1s should be purchased for this alone reason, because there's just not enough traction in crypto right now to say, well, hey, look at all these fees happening. This is going to pump the price. Doesn't happen like that. Speculation, interest, buying, selling, that's way more effective for growing a coin than any sort of metric right now, at least. So what we're looking at in this case isn't that. It's mainly the DEXs, really. So layer 1s are safe because, again, you need them, and people find pretty much safety in them. But other than that, DEXs are probably more an interesting pick if you're looking for big gains. So we can see on this chart here, so PancakeSwap and the Binance Smart Chain, right? BNB in orange, PancakeSwap in this light color was the pretty much layer 1 and DEX combo of the last cycle I like the most. So you can see here that PancakeSwap pretty much pumped with BNB network every single time. And of course, it obviously made some pretty good gains in that sense as well. So a better example might be Ethereum. Okay, so Ethereum in this gray color here, you can't quite see, I do apologize. I'll move my head. Pumped over here. Of course, this sort of pinkish color is Uniswap, and this purplish color is 1 inch. And we can see here that they both did quite well, but of course, Uniswap did sort of outpace 1 inch by a little bit. And that's sort of the point I want to make here as well, is that on the layer 1 itself, there's usually a standout DEX. Sometimes it's harder to sort of identify, but there is definitely a standout DEX that will gain most exposure. And here's why it's important for you to identify this, because basically on a layer 1, even if it has layer 2s and so on, all of, well, at least most of the traction for buying the tokens and so on will go through the DEX. And they have their own fees, of course, as well. Normally, DEXs are pretty profitable. So when you're looking at like, okay, an ecosystem, you want to find the layer 1 and maybe buy layer 1 if you want to, but particularly the DEX that has a growing ecosystem, okay? The money will always flow into the ecosystem. Now, if there's no ecosystem, the money will always flow into the DEX with the biggest ecosystem, essentially. If there's no ecosystem or it's growing, by at least going at a slow pace, it's not going to work out too well for you. There needs to be a wide array of altcoins on that layer 1, okay, where people go, oh, they're not on centralized exchanges, I'm going to buy through the DEX. And that's where the DEX can really roll up quite a bit of traction, to be honest with you. And then the more liquidity, the more trust, and people actually buy the token straight up. That's why I'm a big fan of Aerodrome Finance on Base. So this is definitely tip number 4, is to know how the industry works, okay, how these sort of networks are built and what's built on top of what, and then work out where the demand will go. Okay, what do people need to pass through to operate the ecosystem, which is the DEX, and ultimately the layer 1. Now, I've got one bonus tip at the end here, just for all of you guys who are around at this point in time, but the 5th one here is that a lot of you guys are under-equipped to be looking for the high multiple coins. All right, so a lot of you are kind of like a little bit afraid to look in the top 100 altcoins because you think there's no money to be made. And you're somewhat right, but by money, are we talking like a 10x is bad here? Is 900% gains bad? I mean, ask yourself, really? Because I don't think so. And matter of fact, you could probably 10x, don't quote me on this, non-financial advice, but most of these top 100, top 200 coins should do a 10x from these prices at least anyway. I don't know when you average in, but from these prices, sure. Maybe even 15x some of these coins. And mind you, the top 100 coins are like 600 mil market cap now. This was once 1 billion, at least 1.2 billion. So we've seen this grow quite substantially. So it should show you guys that multiples are still here. And while you're down scrounging around the micro caps, where you're literally just gambling, because a micro cap might sound good, but you have no real idea of telling. I can't tell you how many micro caps I invested in the last cycle that were great, heaps of buzz that fizzled out. But you just don't know. You really don't know, guys. I mean, anything could happen behind the scenes. With scam, rug pull, no financing, one of the co-founders got pissed off at someone else and then just decided to do something. You don't know. And it's not worth the risk, in my opinion. Now, if you are more savvy with crypto, if you are someone who's able to dabble around a bit more and have more expendable income, go for your life. This is more of a message to someone like myself from the previous cycle who just wanted to make some money. You're not going to be mad at yourself for 5 or 10xing. You really won't. 15xing. You'll be pissed off with yourself if you had the chance to do that and you failed because you kept looking for micro caps. You kept buying, price may have moved up, you didn't take profit at a 4 or 5x, whatever it might have happened. It came back down and fell, you panic sold because you have no conviction, and then you kept chasing your tail, listening to these micro cap shilling influencers on every other micro cap coin, and go to yourself, how do I run all my money out? Catching your tail looking for micro caps. I mean, do your own thing. Not financial advice, that's just my 2 cents, of course. And lastly, probably one of the most powerful things you can do in crypto is multi-cycle compounding. All right, so in this example with Bitcoin, I mean, I'll run through this very quickly. And multi-cycle compounding, by the way, before I get into that, is where you pretty much, as the name suggests, compound your gains each cycle. Okay, so pretty much what you do today, buy one Bitcoin for 66 grand. It's a bit less than that, 60 grand right now, okay, but hold in with me. Let's just say the price of Bitcoin maxes at 350K this bull run, all right, for 2025, and you sell at 150K. Bit more realistic, right? So you make 150 grand, well, you have 150 grand revenue. So you made about whatever the difference between 150 grand and 66 grand is. You're pretty much doubled in a bit of your money, okay? And so in this case, what you're going to do is pretty much reinvest the 125 grand. You're going to compound the 125 grand. You might need to keep 25 grand for tax reasons or whatever. But now you have 1.9 Bitcoin, okay? Because you sold and now you've got pretty much 1.9 Bitcoin. If you bought, as much as you possibly could of Bitcoin going back down to 66 grand, okay? So pretty much what we're saying here is that Bitcoin actually didn't even move at all, okay? From the price you're buying it today, it's the same price in the next bear market, which I think it'll fall below 66 grand. So you buy 125 grand worth of Bitcoin at 66 grand, you have 1.9 Bitcoin, price next cycle goes 750K, you make 500K. Bang, there you go, okay? Price the next cycle goes to 750 grand, you sell at 500 grand, you make 950 grand, you 14x over 6 years with Bitcoin. Now, we can go hyperbolic with this, guys. We can go looking at micro caps. We can take 28K with micro caps. I mean, screenshot this right now. This is actually a video I made a while back on Ondo, ICP, and Render. But like realistically, you could in 6 years go from 28K to literally $2.3 million. And you think I'm crazy. I mean, look at the numbers right here. Screenshot the numbers and ask yourself if this is possible. Now, you don't necessarily have to, in the next bear market, buy these 3 coins again. But the idea is to take the money you'd make this cycle, so from 28 grand to 310 grand, which, mind you, isn't that big of a jump. That's just over a 10x, with 3 of these coins that you can definitely do today, I believe, non-financial advice. And then buy whatever the hell you want down here and look for another 10x from this price. So you see, if you just 10x today and then 10x in the next bull run, you've 100x. So guys, I mean, this is sort of a very important principle people tend to forget. This will hopefully alleviate some of that pressure on you. The pressure to 100x this cycle. 10x, 10x. This is why most wealthy people get wealthy. They have an idea longer than just tomorrow or the next day or the following day. They see into the next 6 years. So think about that for a second. And hopefully that's helped you a little bit. Okay, so with that being said, guys, I'm going to leave it here for today. I hope you have enjoyed. And if you have, hit that like button down there and subscribe. And I'll talk to you all very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.